it's Allie Edwards, and I am back today for day 2 or Tuesday of Stamp Week, and today we are focusing on prompt-based stamps. And prompt-based stamps, or sentiment-based stamps, I also call them that, are the majority of the stamps that we create and that I design. And that's on purpose, because what I love are words, and I love words that help support our story. So I wanted to show you, I pulled out a couple. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a Project Life spread, a 12 by 12. This is back from 2018, so I'm still working my way through 2018. I have that, and then I'll also be doing another page in my Art of Noticing notebook that I was putting together from a little trip to Las Vegas that we did last week. So this is what I did yesterday with the alphabet stamps. But in terms of sentiment stamps, again, whether you're subscribing to the story stamp, which we have a $5 subscription offer for that right now, it's $5 for the first month. And but most of those, like these are some examples of those, they are word-based stamps. So we usually include a few different little shapes included with it, but most of it is word based. And the idea is that each one of these stamps and the sentiments on these stamps can be a jumping off point for a story that you may be wanting to tell. These ones I think are all, I think the seasons ones too, these are all from past story kits, and we've done more than 60, I believe, past story kits. So story kits and story stamps are all based on a single word, like believe. This one was tough, this one was pieces, this one was magic, this one was habit, and then other jumping off points related to that theme. And let's see, so a lot of these can be used as, remember how yesterday in the alphabet section we talked about a title and then a subhead. Many of these work great as subheads, but they also work really great as journal card titles. And so that's how I'm going to use one of these for Project Life spread today. So it's kind of simple stamping, and I'll show you a few different things related to that. And then I'll also do something in here with one of the prompt-based stamps. And I think in here I will probably, from the Las Vegas one, I will probably pick something that, like, you know, this one that right here that says pieces of my heart. You know, maybe I'll do a page here related to Aaron, or I did pull out, right now the current theme that we have in the story stamp is you, and so I could use the love you because and do a page with that right here that would go into this Vegas book. That was actually the one that I set out. So I'll mark that there, but I also might come back and use another one of these, like pieces of my heart. Okay, so actually maybe I'll use that with this one. So I know on Project Life, some of my most favorite Project Life spreads have been when I have journal cards that are consistent. This is going to be an insert in here. So journal cards that have a consistent design across the spread. That's one of my favorite ways to do these, because I like the consistency. So right now I've cut 3, or if I cut 4, 3 by 4 journal cards. This is doing 12 by 12 traditional Project Life. I did it this way through 2018, so like 2010 to 2018 I did this big size. Now in 2019 and then in 2020 I'm doing a 9 by 12 album, and I'm doing it monthly. This was doing it weekly. So there's so many different ways that you can approach memory keeping, and this is one of the ways that I've done it before, where it's essentially a week at a glance. So going back to the journal cards, that's what I'm going to do first here, is stamp on the journal cards. I think I'm going to use orange and red again. Those are some of my personal go-to colors here, but it's also, this was a week when Anna was involved in a play. It's fall. There's those kinds of things are happening. So as a story stamp subscriber, when you subscribe to the story stamp, some of the designs that are on the stamps are often from the journal cards in the kit. So if you're getting the story kit, you can always just use the card, but as we're talking about stamping, and as many of us I know enjoy stamping, that's what I'm going to use to create this spread. So I'm thinking this is the season stamp set. I'm pretty sure this one is available. I tried to pick out some that were available during the stamp sale that's happening right now during this week. This one says loving this. It's off the seasons one. Other sentiments on here say making my way through this season, the story of this season, adore this season is rough. I always try to include both sentiments that relate to the happy times and sentiments that also relate to the challenging times. That's something that I generally try to include. So I'm going to use the loving this stamp. You'll see what this looks like in just a second. Here, I'm going to move that up. I'm going to do a head and a subhead. So this, or a title and a subhead. So let's put loving this. Loving this is an easy one because I can look around on my spread and pick out which stories do I want to tell. You know, I'm loving that Elliot helps Anna with her homework, or I'm loving hanging out with friends, or I'm loving watching Anna in the play. The other thing that I'm planning on doing on this spread too is potentially stamping on the photos. That's something that I'm considering. And or creating stamped embellishments that I can cut out and add to the 4x6 photos. So we'll see. Let's start with this. So many of the stamps that you would get in the Story Stamp subscription or just the stamps in the shop are designed to be able to fit on 3x4 cards. Because that's a size that a lot of people have been using. So I'm going to stamp 3 that just say loving this. This is such an easy way to do this just repeated stamping to create the journal cards. You know, it's something that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. It doesn't have to be, you're not pulling out 500 stamps when you're doing one project. You pull out one stamp set to do that one project, and then you can pull out another stamp set another time. I love memory keeping, obviously, but I'm also about efficiency and, you know, trying to find opportunities for things to take less time. Okay, so I think that what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Pieces of My Heart. This is from the Pieces stamp set. I think that this one is available too. I'm not positive, but if it is, I will link it for you guys. And if you're watching this during a time that's not during stamp week and not during the stamp sale, these ones probably wouldn't be available. We've just made some of the past story stamp ones available. All right, so in this case too, a couple things. One is that I will be doing handwritten journaling on these. You could also set up 3x4 cards in Photoshop and you could print them out and then stamp on them. That's another option. If you do that, that's kind of getting into just more digital options, and you can we have these stamps available digitally as well. So that is just you know, another option. Or you can, you know, print out your journaling and then stamp on the top as well. I'm just going to test this one out just to make sure I have an idea. So that says Pieces of My Heart. Again, this one is from the Pieces one, and I am just going to stamp it right below there. And it's also kind of giving me a nice little spot right here for a number. I could potentially add a number there or some other embellishment if I wanted to. Again, this just can be such a simple approach. This one the Pieces one did have numbers on it. If you wanted to add a number on there, I probably have some smaller ones somewhere else too. I think I'm just going to start with this and maybe see what kind of embellishments I may have to add onto here. With my title card in Project Life, I almost always add a label sticker. Let's see what label sticker options I have here. Maybe this beige one would work well. You can see that I've used a lot of these. I'm planning that we're going to make some more of these and probably have them out later this year. They're just one of the things that I use the most. I just really like the label sticker look. And I often just put it on the bottom because I'm going to do a date stamp on here. And you can either fold it over or cut it off. And since this is 2018, I need to make sure that I have a date stamp that has 2018 on it. Try to get the right date. This is October 8th to the 13th. And I'm just going to go with stays on for this one. I wonder if that's the right date. Now that I'm looking at it, it looks like I changed it a couple times. I'm gonna grab my phone and double check that. Okay, yeah, it's actually 8 to the 14th, so I'm glad I double checked. A couple things just for you guys to think about as I'm on here, or related to this, is obviously I'm going back in time to work on this, right? It's not a current year thing. So just the reminder that it's okay to not, caught up is not really a thing that we are focusing on around here. It's more stories don't expire, right? And there's always opportunities to tell more of your story. I'm gonna add a little bit of a chipboard piece right there. That one might not have it. Oh, gotta pull it off on the back. Okay, so now I am going to come back in and deal with my journaling. Actually, I don't know if I'm ready to do the journaling yet. I might wait a minute and I might do something else. Actually, this one, the season one, also has one that just says embrace this season. Trying to think if I want to. This little one, like each moment has its own beauty. I don't know yet. I'm going to wait and see. Another thing I could do on here is date, more dates. But I think in this case, I am going to just go ahead and write some journaling. All right, so before I started actually doing the journaling, I decided I did want to add one more thing. And I went ahead and used this heart stamp set. It's a one little word heart stamp set. Doesn't have to be for the one little word project. It's just hearts with words on the inside. And so I'm using the yellow Honeyman ink. And what's awesome about it is you can totally see you can see the red through it. I don't know what I was thinking while I was doing this. I was like, oh, that's amazing. I wasn't thinking that it just layers just like that so nicely. I don't know. Anyway, it's Tuesday, like I said. Who knows what's going on? Anyway, I love the addition of the shape on there. I think that makes it super cute. I love the addition of the yellow. These are definitely like the red, orange, yellow are some of my most favorite colors and go along well at lots of different times of the year. So I'm using a precision pen to just write in my journaling using the loving this as the jumping off prompt. So what am I loving about the different photos that I'm looking at or the different pieces of this week? I think this is a good reminder too that when you are doing Project Life on a weekly basis, there is no rule that says you have to tell every single story, right? There is nothing that says you must write about each one of the photos that you have included in here. And so I think sometimes it's a nice reminder to be like, oh, I can just pick out a few of them and tell stories about those. And you're going to see here as this one ends up, I didn't add a lot of embellishments to this spread. I'm going to do one other stamped embellishment that's going to get added to the 4x6 photos. But other than that, I was like, this is good. And, I think I've said this so many times before, but it's the sum of all these Project Life spreads coming together that is the most beautiful piece of this project, especially when you're doing it weekly. So some weeks might be really artsy, and some weeks may have a lot of embellishments, and some weeks may have a lot of words, and some weeks may have a lot of photos. And all of that is perfectly okay. So go with what you're feeling, go with what you're interested in. It's also kind of a record of your style or the things that you're into at any given time as well. So for my second or the other embellishment, I've been wanting to use these. I can't remember if I've actually used them before. I know I've used them digitally, but this is a Week in the Life stamp set that I don't think we have available anymore, banners, Week in the Life banners, but some of you may have this in your stash. But the idea here is to look in your stash and see, what do you have that's a shape? What is a shape-based prompt or a shape-based identifier? This one's not really a prompt per se, but it's a stamp that has words on it, which is what you're going to find for me. And it's also a really cool shape. And so I did use black Memento ink for this one. In some of the pictures that I took, it's really blue here in my office today because the sun is shining, which we're not going to complain about whatsoever. But it looks a little blue. It's actually black. I did print or stamped a couple other little stamps there that were on the Seasons one, some circles that I considered using, and then I don't end up using those in the end, which I think is totally fine too. Sometimes I'll do stuff like that, stamp something or, get an embellishment ready and then change my mind, and I'm fine with that too. But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm taking those weekday banners and I am adding them to their respective photo, and then I'm using a tiny attacher stapler to staple them in place. And I really like the look here. I did consider adding something else, like maybe another little embellishment to each one of those banners, but then I was like, you know what, I'm happy with how it is, so I'm going with that. But I always like the opportunity to identify the days of the week, especially when I was doing this weekly. It was one of my most fun things, and we have a lot of stamps that are reference the days of the week. All right, now we are jumping back into the notebook that I started. This is that Art of Noticing notebook for my Las Vegas trip with Erin. That's what I showed you yesterday. I adhered that in. Remember that the journaling was done while I was on the trip, and then I'm just adhering photos in. For the next page, I'm going to show you just a couple, do a couple pages, and then I'll do some stamping there too. Next page was about eating breakfast, so I'm just going to adhere this breakfast photo or the coffee photo in there. And then on the other side, what I'm going to add is this an enlarged photo. So again, the pages in here are 4 1/4 by 8 1/4. I think that's right. So that's how I printed this photo out to this size. And I think what I'm going to do is just stamp something right into or onto the top there. I'm trying to think of what I gotta look at my stamps and see what I want to do. And then I'm gonna do the love you because here on this photo of Erin. Actually, I'll just go ahead and cut that out. These photos, again, I'm cutting them to 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, but you could make them a little bit longer if you wanted to. I'm just trying to make it super simple because that's a number that I can remember to come back to multiple times. All right, so what I want to do, I want to look at my travel stamps, which ones I have, and that one I want to just stamp onto the other photo on that last page. I'm kind of going out of order here, but so here's this one. Okay, so back to this one. So I've got this photo. I know that I want to round those corners again using the 1/2 inch corner rounder. And since we're talking prompts today, like I said, for the one with Erin, I'm gonna do prompts on that one, but this one I think I just want to stamp something right on here. And again, this is a good reminder of if you are using digital stamps, these designs are ones that you can get digitally, and you could put that on there even before you print. But I'm just gonna stamp something on there. Kind of wonder, I was just looking at some of the ones that I have out on my desk here. Even just the totally loving this, it could be something super simple like that right in the center. I think that's what I'm going to do. This one's off the Believe, and it just says totally loving this. Actually, if there's one that says the story, I'm going to use this one. The story right now, me, you, us is what it says. This is off the Believe one. As always, I'm going to do a test, and I'm going to do a test onto a piece of photo paper because that's what that one is. See, I probably have some I just cut off, right? There's one right here. Okay, so using StazOn again on 2 photos because I know that that is going to dry the best and will work the best on there. Again, with photo paper, you're always going to want to test it out because different photo papers are different. All right, so let's see if I can try to get it. I think I might need to straighten it out a little bit. This end. Actually, it's nice to have a block that has lines on it too. That is if you've got ones that you want to be super straight. You can also bend these stamps, which is a really cool thing, and I actually might do that on the next one, so I'll look at that in a minute. Okay, so that one I kind of went down too hard. Again, this is why you test in advance, especially if you're going to do it on a picture. Okay, so if it comes out like that, I'm going to be super happy. And if it doesn't, I can always cover it up, right? That's another thing to remember, that if it doesn't come out just right, you can always cover it up and put something else on top. That is going to work just fine for me. That stamp block is sticky. I also have some geotag stickers here that I was just going to pull out because that might be a cute little embellishment on top of that guy right there. Let's see, what color do I want? I think like this one. Okay, so now I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this. And then I'm starting with the outside edges. Okay, so there's my next page. So here was the previous one. Next one. One of the things that's great about adding stuff in like this is it really does firm up the pages. So just something to think about. Like I could still like put a pattern paper behind that or something, and maybe I will. Just makes the pages a little sturdier. Okay, so now I have this one. This is the next, so that was the 26th. So I'm gonna grab my date stamp. I'm gonna make sure that I get it on 2020. Let's go back to February. And we're gonna do the 27th. And that's what a couple of these days are going to be that. So there's the photo, waking up in the morning. Okay, and now we're moving on to this one. And this is where I'm going to do some prompt-based stamping. And I think I'm going to use that U, the Love You Because one there. And I kind of want to see, just briefly, I'm going to pull out my pattern paper really quick while I'm thinking about that one. See what I have. It needs something. I mean, it could even be something like this behind there. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just add a little bit of oomph. And it could be any of the, I got a whole bunch of different pattern papers here. Like a cloud one, like that one would be fun there too. Kind of goes along with the theme. Especially with the blue. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. Let's try this one. Kind of the clouds there. And actually, I might use this twice. So I'm gonna cut this to 8 1/4 tall. This is from pattern paper from Vicki Boutin, 4 1/4. And this is something that I could use twice on, like use it there. And then I could use it again for this journaling page about Erin. Maybe I'll cut another one and then we'll see. Okay. So I'm coming back to this one first. I'm going to pull this up off the back and hopefully it won't rip the paper. Okay, so now I'm going to use the corner rounder again on the outside edge. And you could totally, you know, make your own pattern paper with stamps too. That's another option. Okay. Yes, all right, I'm liking that. I'm gonna put some more adhesive on the back of this. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, oh, I like that. Okay, so now we'll deal with this one of Erin. And so my options are to do white paper, or I can do this pattern again, which I kind of like the idea. So let's try that first. So my goal again is to use I want to do a prompt based stamp. And in the classroom, for the U kit, the U story stamp, U story kit, there's a classroom that goes along with that each month. I did use this for a page, and I think I'm gonna do something kind of similar with numbers and then the love you because there. So what I need to find first, pick out some numbers. I'm gonna go with those ones right there. I've got a few different ones here, obviously different. There's some handwritten ones, different shapes. Okay, so I think I'm probably gonna fit 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 on here. So let's start with the first one. I'll look back. Maybe I'll do it like in green. Pull out the green from yesterday. I flipped back just to see what were the colors that I did on the original one. Okay. Actually, so again, testing out, right? I want to do a test, so I'm just grabbing an extra part of that pattern paper. I do the one, and then if I do, let's say I do the love you because in black, let's see what that looks like. Either the stays on or the memento would work fine for this. Yeah. And then I'll just write on each, okay, that's gonna look good. I like that idea. All right, so let's start on here. I'm gonna start with my number 1. And I kind of like this too because it's like a story within the story, right? So here, you know, this is the story I wrote while we were there, which is about Erin trying on jeans. But then I can also tell another story about him that can either be things from the trip or they could be, you know, just other life-related things. So I'm going to set myself up first with these numbers and then just so that I can spread out the spacing here. So I think I'm going to go down and do number 5 because this will help me figure out how much space I do have. Because I want to leave about this much room for each number. So let's get that on there. Make sure I do it the right way here. So again, prompt based, right? I'm using the actual stamp to direct the story that I'm gonna tell. That's the goal. So now I need a 3 in the middle, right? 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's gonna help me make sure that it's all spread out. At least kind of close to being even spread out, but you know, it's, when you're not doing it on the computer, you have less options. You just hope for the best. Might have a little bit more left on the bottom there than I will. I'm gonna say that's about in the middle. Two next. And then I'm gonna write my journaling. I think I'm probably gonna start over here and then come down underneath. That's my initial thought. And this is also a story that you can do, you know, you can come back to it again and again, right? In terms of telling the story, like we love people for different reasons at different times in their lives. And even if you did, you know, a love you because once a year, that is going to, the things that you say on there may be different than what you put at a different point in time, just based on what's actually happening in your life right now. So I love that love you because stamp. It's so fun. All right, let's put this one back over here. And it could have, I could do another color on here if I really wanted to, if I wanted to add, and I kind of want to add like a little orange star or something, just some other little shape or little color. That's kind of what I'm thinking as I'm looking at this. I'm going to go ahead and round the corner right now. I think I will look for a little star, which probably the best place to look for that. Well, here's a couple of those. That's probably too small. There's a tiny little one on the habit. I could do the hearts obviously too, but I think I want to see what I can find here. There's a hand-drawn star. Or that circle. Let's try that. This one. This is from Magic. I just want to see what this would look like if I did an orange on there too before I actually write out my journaling. Yeah, I kind of like that as just another little thing inside of, mixed in with it, that maybe overlaps a little bit. And I think I'll vary the placement so it's, well, actually I'm gonna go kind of vary, but just not worrying about exactly where it's located on there. Okay, so that little star was off the Magic stamp set. Okay, so now next up is just to go ahead and put in my journaling. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that next. All right, and then to wrap this page up, I went ahead and added in my journaling, again, using a precision pen. I started in the, kind of on the upper line there, and then continued it down below and just filled in that space with what are the reasons why I love Erin right now for whatever the reason is. And it was fun, it's adding in things like, you're always willing to go on an adventure and you're always willing to stay home. It wasn't directly related to this Vegas trip, which it could have been, I think, if you wanted to, but it could also just be general, which I guess I did say that previously too. But just some of the reasons why I love them right now. I have to tell you guys that I really, really like how this turned out. I think it's such a fun way to work within these notebooks. And I know there's lots of you out there that have been using these notebooks for a while and playing with traveler's notebooks. And, I was not an early adopter of them, but I'm definitely loving it in this case. And I think it's just a nice reminder that there's so many different ways that we can tell our stories. We can do it in project life. We can do it in traditional scrapbooking. We can do it in a notebook. We can do it just in a journal if we want to. I think most of us here want some crafty piece involved. So that's what we're going to do. Anyway, I love how that turned out. I went ahead and underlined everything after the fact. Most of the time I underline after I've written things down. And then I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that right in the inside using my rolling adhesive. And then I ended up just doing a couple more pages. I had that macaroon image again, that I did not take that picture. That's from a magazine, but it's a nice reminder that you can just take things out of magazines and add them into a notebook like this as well. My journaling on that page was about the some of these lamps that they have at the Wynn is where that one was from. Anyway, just a couple more, a few more things to do with that notebook, and I will keep working on that again tomorrow.